This episode of FineScale Modeler's new product rundown features Eduard's Liberator, Tamiya's updated Leclerc, Gee Bee racers from Dora Wings and Lindberg, and more Workbench modules from HobbyZone.
New product rundown brought to you by HobbyZone USA, your source for hobby storage solutions, hard-to-find hobby tools, and aftermarket modeling needs.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Nash here with Aaron Skinner. Welcome to the new product rundown.
This is FineScale Modeler's twice-monthly review of the latest kits and accessories.
And this episode is packed with exciting releases, including Eduard's Riders in the Sky.
Yeah, this limited edition kit pairs Hasegawa's terrific 1/72nd scale B24D with Eduard plastic and photo etch to build Liberators operated by the Royal Air Force's Coastal Command during World War II.
The Hasegawa Liberator is well detailed and builds into an impressive model. Surface detail on major parts, such as the long wings, includes fine recessed panel lines and rivets. Molded on control surfaces feature fine raised ribs and actuators.
The fuselage breaks just behind the cockpit to allow for later turret nose versions from the same tooling.
The front sections are molded in clear plastic, which may complicate assembly, but eases masking and means no hard-to-fill spots around the canopy.
The tail planes comprise full-span horizontal stabilizers and one-piece vertical tails with integral rudders.
Interior detail includes a cockpit floor, seats, instrument panel, bulkheads, waist gun positions, bomb bay ceiling, walls, and racks.
Each engine has two cylinder banks inside 5-part cowls.
All of the fuselage windows slip in from outside, simplifying painting and masking. Self-adhesive masks make the job nearly foolproof. New clear parts from Eduard provide parts for 3 types of tail turret, as well as the dorsal gun position, waist guns, and a wing-mounted searchlight used on some Coastal Command Liberators.
Also new in this kit are 4 thinner-bladed props, the body of the searchlight pod, guns, chin-mounted radar fairing, and nose-mounted rockets with rails, and the stub wings that carry them.
Photo etch metal provides instrument panels, seat belts, gun sights, and radar antenna.
Cartograph decals provide markings for 13 RAF Liberators with white undersides and top sides in either overall extra dark sea gray or camouflaged with extra dark sea and slate gray.
A 76-page softcover book shows many of the subject aircraft in contemporary photos. The text is in Czech, but there's an English translation on Eduard's website.
Finally, there's an art print of the box art.
All of which makes for a comprehensive package. But perhaps you want more detail.
Then Eduard has you covered with this lot.
There are brass and engines.
This set comprises one-piece resin engines with photo etched wiring harnesses.
Then there's a set of bomb bay doors, which include beautifully cast resin doors and actuators to accurately pose the bay open.
How better to fill those open bays than with 250-pound depth charges. Also from Brasson, 6 resin weapons come in the set, which includes decal stencils.
There's also Brasson turbochargers, with terrific detail that will really enhance the underside of the nacelles.
Finally from Brasson, here's a set of wheels. The parts show great hub and tread detail and include optional outer hubs and PE covers.
That's a lot of model and a neat twist on a popular subject.
Yeah, if you want a B24 of a different shade, this is a terrific option.
Next, here's a quick look at an interesting re-release from Tamiya, the 1/35th scale Leclerc.
France's main battle tank, the Leclerc, entered service in the early 1990s.
Tamiya first released its Leclerc in 2005, and this re-release features much of the same components.
The lower hull has suspension mounts, sponson plates, and part of the hull sides above that.
The suspension includes drive sprockets, idlers, road wheel arms, stabilizers, and return rollers. Vinyl tracks ground the tank.
Hull details include molded vents and louvers on the engine deck and rear panel, and fender skirts with rubber-look sand flaps. There's subtle non-skid texture on the upper hull, too.
A similar detail marks the turret's upper surfaces. The main gun is molded in halves with a separate one-piece muzzle.
Details like tools, headlights, fuel tanks, and hatches finish the tank.
Even the marking options match those of the original release, including 3 French Army tanks in 2004 and 1 in desert camouflage in Qatar in 1998, which might leave you asking, what's new?
Originally, the road wheels were cast metal with little detail on the inner faces. This kit replaces them with plastic parts that should be easier to assemble, and although there's not a lot of detail between them, the inner wheels look better. Tamiya's Leclerc has always been popular, and it's good to see it back in a slightly easier to build kit.
When air racing was at its zenith in the late 1920s and early 1930s, a lot of specialty aircraft were flown.
One of the most exotic in speed and shape was the Gee Bee R1.
We have a couple of kits here, starting with Dora Wings' 1/48th scale offering.
Even in 1/48 scale, this is a tiny plane, and all of the parts fit on 4 small sprues.
The 3-inch long fuselage half includes fine recessed panel lines, the raised ribs on the rear of the body, and the belly appear to be a bit heavy and will benefit from sanding.
Just as the pilot had to squeeze into the cockpit has to squeeze into the fuselage here, including frames, seat back and bottom, stringers, instrument panel, and controls. The molded door can be cut out and a separate hatch posed open.
The big Pratt & Whitney R1340 Wasp engine comprises a bank of cylinders, push rods, intake manifold, ignition ring, and exhausts.
It fits inside a two-part cowl. The prop is cleanly molded with thin blades. I was impressed by the inclusion of a panel just behind the cowl as optional separate parts. They account for slight differences between those sections and means no awkward filling on the fine vents.
The rudder and ailerons are separate, but the elevators are molded in place.
Two-part spats, sandwich wheels molded in halves. The sole clear part is the tiny canopy.
Photo etch metal provides seatbelts, cowl supports, throttle levers, and the rigging for the wings.
Vinyl masks are included to paint the complex scalloped red and white livery.
A crowded decal sheet has markings for both the Gee Bee R1 and R2, although only the former are used on the kit.
At the other end of the spectrum in terms of complexity is Lindberg's 1/32 scale Gee Bee racer, marked here for Coca Cola.
The what-if markings are inspired by Coke's Your Thirst Takes Off ad campaign.
Molded in striking yellow plastic, the simple kit includes body halves with molded ribs and raised panel lines, an upper body section that incorporates the canopy frame, and wings with rigging attachments bored out. The outlines of the scallops are molded on. All control surfaces are movable.
The engine is represented by a molded plate that fits into a one-piece cowl.
In addition to an oddly long-armed pilot, the cockpit comprises a floor, seat, and instrument panel.
Like the smaller Dora Wings Gee Bee, the landing gear spats and wheels are molded in halves.
Fine wire is supplied to rig the plane.
Cartograph decals provide markings for a fictitious racer with bright colors and optional Coca-Cola imagery.
Obviously, this isn't a kit for everyone, but we all know someone who collects Coke memorabilia, and it wouldn't take much work to turn it into a really nice gift.
For a serious replica of the record breaker, it's hard to pass on the Dora Wings kit.
Finally, here are 3 neat modules from HobbyZone that will help me and you organize our workbenches.
First, in keeping with the standard-sized HobbyZone modules, 30 centimeters or about 12 inches, here's a brush and tool holder that can fit under modules.
It has several holes and 2 parallel racks to hold brushes, knives, pens, and other thin tools.
The scalloped racks on the bottom can support longer items.
And the rod in the end section is great for hanging pliers and sprue cutters.
For smaller spaces, try HobbyZone's shorter modules that come in at 20 centimeters, roughly 8 inches long.
Including this 2-drawer module.
The side-by-side drawers are deep and long with plenty of room for tools, supplies, or even sub-assemblies.
And the clear plastic fronts make it easy to check what's inside without opening.
The final part is a brush and tool holder designed to fit with shorter modules.
It holds tools vertically, but there's also room at the front to lay some items down.
All of these items are made from sturdy machine-cut plywood, or MDF, and assemble easily with wood glue and clamps.
Look for a review of Dora Wings Gee Bee R1 in an upcoming issue of FineScale Modeler magazine.
And you can see more new products in the July issue, on sale June 5th.
Thanks for visiting FineScale.com. I'm Aaron Skinner.
I'm Elizabeth Nash, and I underscored this message.
If you've got Earth, Wind, and Fire here, man.
Oh, they were on the radio when I turned it on.
Soul Train.
You will turn this new product rundown around. We are not going to Disney World.